Yo. Alright, are we live? Did I do this right this time? Oh, I put music on this time. We did it. What's up, people? Uh... How's it going? This is, this music is way too chipper to talk about all of the, doomer logic that's happening around here. But we're gonna talk, we're gonna chat, we're gonna have a good time. And then I'm gonna go to bed because, it's a school night, so... everyone say what's up YouTube because, and also say what's up Jake, or if you want to tag him at Jazara J, I'll write it in the chat for you guys. This is how good of a streamer I am. Give me one of those. Our editor over on Bonus Wall, so give him a shout out because he's going to be taking over a lot of these edits here. And the music's probably so loud, so I'm going to turn this down because I'm not good at this. So you guys tell me, as usual, do I need to change anything on my side? Is the music too loud? You know, I'll put it on you. Oh, Jake's already here. What's up, bro? You're watching in process? You're going to edit this as we're talking about it? That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, hope everyone's good. Let me move my mic a little bit. I got a couple friends who might want to pop in and say hey, so let me know if you guys are down with that. But I figure we just kind of just chat here for a bit and, you know, see what the vibes are. Let me make myself a little smaller here. Volume a little louder. I got you. I got you. Like I've said before, I'm not really a stream guy. I don't know what's going on here. I'm going to be honest. You guys don't know what's going on here. I don't know what's going on here. But, you know, we're chilling, and it's fine. You want to hear what I got to say? Listen, man. I have some thoughts for sure. I don't want to, you know, get clipped out of context. You guys probably will clip me out of context, and that's totally fine, because that's what this is all about. Axo Gamer, let me know if that volume sounds okay to you. I can also move my mic closer, but I didn't really want it to be in frame. I feel like that looks stupid. Let me crop this a little bit. Yeah. Okay, there you go. Maybe that's better. Short answer, no. Yeah, I mean, that's the short answer. Thanks for watching. I don't know. I figured we could... I'm waiting on my... I was just at volleyball, too, so I'm waiting on my team to send the volleyball VODs. And I said I would VOD review them on stream if it comes in. But you got your camera on lock ready for out-of-context clipping? Don't do that. I was about to read our conversation in my Discord because you guys already had a good talk. What's up, dude? Fortnite is overrated. You're absolutely right. Hey, I hope all you guys are having a good day. I hope everything is going well for you guys. Happy Monday. Good start to the week, start to the new year. And, you know, what better way to get this all started by talking once again, circling the drain on if Melee is in bad shape. Spoiler alert, it always is, right? Isn't that like our whole thing? Our whole shtick is like, dang, we really did that. We really overcame that thing. So, yeah, look, I mean, I'm not here to like police anybody's speech. I'm not like trying to farm drama or whatever people think is like the topic of the day, month, year sort of thing. So, I get that like the stuff around hacks definitely has a part in this, and I kind of agree with most of it, if we're being honest. So that's not really what this stuff is about. I think, you know, mainly the current events that are surrounding this are like top players are retiring for pretty good reason, in my opinion. And I think people have like this very kind of knee-jerk reaction of like, oh man, Mango said he doesn't want to come back anymore. Says a salaryman in Japan. Josh Man's going to be done after this year. There's plenty of other players who are probably going to be done after this year too, because if I'm being honest, the event calendar, at least as far as I am aware of it, for majors is like extremely barren. So I don't know. Is it dying? I think it's like it kind of depends on what you value out of this game. Like, are you someone who came to competitive I guess we're just getting right into it, by the way, too, because I'm just gonna ramble until you guys give me stuff to talk about. But like, there was a really poignant Reddit thread. Maybe I can do a little screen share for you guys. Let me see if this works. I'm just gonna read this big paragraph. I think this response, like, everyone obviously is going fucking crazy on Reddit, because that's like what that platform is, and that's why I'm not like a huge fan of it in general. But a lot of just like reactionary threads, and like some of it is really good and productive because it's like, look, it's about having a conversation, having a dialogue. Some of it is just like you guys gotta just fucking relax and play the game, man. Like, I think all of these people who like parade around and talk about like the social justice and the politics surrounding the game, first off, shut the fuck up. Second, that's not what this is about, and it's like kind of against the entire thing you're arguing. Like, oh, keep politics out of this stuff. Sure, like you want to like be friendly with the people that you go to play these games with, but at the end of the day, like, all these people who are complaining about, oh, like, let's make our own community, let's do this, whatever, like, just play, right? Isn't that what we were all talking about? But there's a really good comment in one of these threads here that I thought was quite nice, and I think summarizes like a big point that I want to at least start discussing, and then like wherever you guys steer me on this, we can go. But someone made a post that was like talking about game is cooked, it's over. OP was saying, who gives a fuck about Melee esports? Do you play the game or watch it? Are any of you guys going to stop booting up Slippy or going to your locals because XYZ player retired? I swear only half of this is actually in reference to me too, which I find funny, and Wustunes. But only half of the sub only interacts with Melee through Super Major top 8s and Donkey Kong Renaissance videos. First off, nothing wrong with that, and keep doing that, because I think like when you talk about the content funnel and like the marketing funnel, like that, those videos that like Wustunes, myself, other creators out there, shout outs to all of you, make are ways to get people interested in this thing. But the reply that really stuck out to me was someone saying, I have one big takeaway from a lot of these retirements, and it's not that the scene is cooked or that it's okay, Melee is awesome, Melee's forever, this doesn't matter, but it's that the scene is really just getting older. Melee as a video game was designed to be played by kids, teens, families, and young adults in social settings. It's also a game that inadvertently, due to some quirks of the engine, has an extremely high skill ceiling and lends itself very well to competition. Maybe you grew up playing it as a child, discovered years later that it has a lot of depth you never really realized, and really got into it. Due to the nature of the game, this competition necessarily has to be entirely grassroots, and due to the age of the game, it had to, at least at the start, be offline. Let's keep going here. What struck me about Josh Man's retirement announcement was that he didn't have some grand reason or some grand statement about Melee or the state of the game or how he felt about the scene. It was simply, I'm getting older, everyone I grew up with playing Melee no longer plays, I don't want to be living in LA doing this for the rest of my life. In the videos that were recently posted by Cody and Mango, the sentiment about age was also a bit similar. So this is like one of the first things about this whole fucking stupid conversation that comes up all the time, is that on one side, so the OP complaining about Donkey Kong videos, sure, valid. Like, I don't have to make Donkey Kong videos anymore because, you know, guess what? Junebug also isn't going to be competing that much this year. But, like, the thing about taking these things seriously and trying to convert something into a career, and this is like kind of like the other silo that I want to get to in a minute, but I'll start with the aging out of hobby sort of thing, is that literally everybody who becomes interested in something like competitively started that interest by being a hobbyist, right? So for instance, like I just said, I play volleyball tonight. Like, I will eventually get older and probably not be interested in playing volleyball anymore. And that is completely fine, and it's completely normal, and it's completely okay. So I think the biggest thing as it pertains to this, appreciate the follow as well, guys. I don't have sound effects still on my stream noties, so if I just catch it, then thank you. If not, then I will try my best to look back and make sure that everything is all good. But like, I think the grand answer to all of this, or like the short form answer to all of this, is like, Melee is doing fine or will be fine, or it is doing bad and won't be fine, depending on how you interact with the game, right? And I'm going to talk about kind of like the disparity between people who want to convert this thing that they're good at into a career, and people who are just interested like a hobbyist and want to play with their friends. But I think that like difference in population and the way in which online conversations typically are not good at bridging the gap between those two parties creates like a lot of weird tension, right? Like, it's so much of the conversation, especially like surrounding me, if I'm being completely transparent, has been like, oh, for me, I was really into the professional side of esports. I work in a lot more games than just Smash. And I've worked for practically every esports team under the sun. So I know like the back end of it. I know what it means to be a staff member. I know what it means to work production. And for me, my relationship with Melee was like, how can I elevate this thing? How can I try to make this bigger than what it is? And maybe help support people who want to seek a career out of this sort of thing, because I was able to do it for myself, right? And I do think that this is kind of like the food pyramid is almost flipped over in a way where it's like, it shouldn't really be the case that like I was able to create a career for myself, but the players who I kind of like built the career off of are not, right? Like, that sounds backwards to a lot of people. And it is. I think some of it is also just because these players don't have any real desire to do that sort of thing. So one of the things that I was talking about for like the career aspect of it is for people who really, really wanted to turn this thing into a career, a la like Cody or any of these other top players who kind of like talk about sponsors being an issue. I don't, if I'm being honest, I really don't think like they have given it 110% to like do the things that, or at least like make compromises, right? Like, there are certain things where you're like, oh, I want to make X number of dollars from the sponsor, and that's great, right? If you can get that, that's awesome. But you can find ways to make money if you're good at this sort of thing. I think like the crux of that sort of disparity is almost like players want it both ways. Like, they want to be able to just play the game, but also make a fuckload of money from just playing the game. And the harsh truth about that for Melee and Smash in general, because of Nintendo, and like whether you want to whine about Nintendo doesn't support us, or like we could have had it with Panda. I also worked for Panda, for what it's worth. Is that the ecosystem that surrounds Smash just straight up doesn't support that sort of initiative, right? It doesn't allow players this in the same way that your tier 1 esports like old League of Legends, especially when the esports bubble hadn't popped too, which is an entirely different branch of the conversation. But like the esports bubble, or like the tier 1 esports rather, excuse me, allowed for players to just spec all of their points into playing the game and being really fucking good at the game. Smash just does not allow that. You have to diversify your skill points if you want like a chance to have a career in this sort of thing. And I guess like for me, that was doing YouTube, that was working in production, that was working kind of like the back staffing of big tournaments, that sort of thing. And that was like my entry point into being a commentator as well, which isn't necessarily like the most lucrative path available, but it was a path that allowed me to quit my engineering job and make this a career. So I get a little frustrated when this stuff comes up, because I don't think under any circumstance that like I should be a top 5 earner in the Melee community. And I think the players above me who probably have made it into like, or like made it, as a career, are probably like at least of active players, are probably like Zayn and Hungrybox, right? So that part like kind of frustrates me because I think the like hard worker in me is kind of like, well, just fucking try harder, right? And like I don't mean to sound like harsh or mean or like I'm calling specific people out, because I'm not. Like, all of these people are my friends, but it gets really exhausting for me to like listen to people being like like crying that Melee is never going to work out, Melee this, that, whatever, when like there are clearly people in content or otherwise who have found a way to make it work and have found a way to document this sort of thing and have found a way to generate enough income that you can call this at least a career until you run it into the ground or the wheels fall off, right? And that's not to say like people should just be okay and like accept any amount of money that they get, right? Like if you just have like an untenable amount of money, or if you're making like an untenable amount of money to sustain a lifestyle off of this sort of thing, right? Like, let's say, I'll throw out a random number. So let's say like you're making $10,000 a year. I think that is probably too low to sustain your life, assuming you are like a 20 to 30 year old individual and you pay rent and you pay for groceries and you pay for lifestyle things and you have, like family and relationships and whatever other emergency might come up. So to that extent, yeah, like you kind of do some level of risk analysis to say, look, okay, I'm making like $0 off of this thing. And like these people come to these crossroads of saying like, okay, I'm going to try this for X number of years. If it doesn't work out, then yes, I have to go back to the normie job or whatever. So that stuff I understand, right? Like I know that there is more nuance to this than meets the eye. But I think like one of my personal gripes, and I was talking about it in my Discord with some friends this morning, it is mostly just like I don't think it's that crazy or controversial to the Reddit comments post as well, right? Like for Josh Man, for instance, to say like, okay, I just don't want to live in LA anymore. I want to go back home, and I want to like I'm just growing out of this thing, and my friends don't like it anymore, because that's what having a hobby is, right? Like that kind of response is him saying this thing is just like untenable for me as a career, and it is no longer appealing to me as a hobby. Because the friends and relationships that I had built from this, while they were great, do not exist in this thing anymore. My issue is just like the constant complaining of people being like, it is impossible to do this, when I feel like I've been right here for a very long time. Like for better or for worse, like when people shit on me or say like nasty things about me, I know like I'm pretty confident that like I was able to do something like that. So it frustrates me as like a person who built this thing from zero, to hear people be like, well, it just doesn't work. Like it never worked. That was also a similar thing with Panda, by the way, too. Like Alan straight up said to my face, that he didn't think it would work, and he didn't ever think it could work. And maybe I'm just like stubborn and I just wanted to prove those people wrong. But like, I think we're doing fine. Like I have a job that I do production for in addition to this job. But even if I were not to work at this place, I do not think that I would be in any like trouble, at least in the immediate future, right? That was my long-winded rant. I didn't look at the chat literally at all during that period, so sorry about that, because I put the Reddit post over the chat. So I'm going to scroll up. You guys go ahead and tell me if you want to talk about something different, but I can keep kind of jamming on this if you want. And I do appreciate all the kind words from you guys. Thank you to everyone who's tuning in right now as well. On Twitch, Echo Loco, it's so funny how people give up making Smash a career and all they did was press buttons. Good, no effort whatsoever. Yeah, I mean, like, look, I don't know when you got into the stream, but like I kind of touched on that, and it's like, you can make a career in esports, especially when the bubble was a thing several years ago, by pressing buttons good, but the ecosystem for Smash does not support that. Like, you cannot just be good at playing the game if your goal in this game is to have a career. And like, maybe that sucks to hear, right? Like maybe it's shitty to hear like, oh, why can't being good at the game be enough? But it's just not, because you don't pay for rent with Nintendo sponsored tournaments where you win a controller for getting first place, or even major level tournaments where it is like a laughable amount of money. For, I know the HBox photo from, what was it, CEO 2022 or whatever, where he won like $60 and he got 5th place. Like, think about the time cost analysis for something like that, where it's like, damn, I played Melee for 3 fucking days, probably like regular work shift, right, for 3 days. Think about what your hourly is for that sort of thing, to win $50 to $60 at the end of it, and you worked your fucking ass off, right? Like, I'm not belittling the efforts of the players who want to do that sort of thing, but it is crazy to me to say in the same breath, I want to make this a career, when clearly the system that surrounds you is not working for you. Like, you need to find something else that will allow you to do that sort of thing. My hair is falling constantly. I just got out of the shower too. Are there opportunities for content formats outside of the video essay type stuff you do for top players? Yeah, 100%. I think what Zane is doing is excellent, and I've talked to him a lot about this. Like, actually, immediately after he won Supernova, he and I talked for a few minutes after he was done getting interviewed. And I think the big thing, and content I can go on about literally forever, so don't take me down that rabbit hole unless you guys want to go there. But the thing about content for top players, and it is a very, very poignant thing that I don't have, and I acknowledge that I don't have it, is that I'm not a top player. So I cannot offer top player perspective. I cannot offer top player POV. I cannot offer, the same level of authority that someone like Zane, the best player in the world, can command simply by saying, I'm literally the best player at this video game, right? And this is a thing that Wolfie from Pokemon does incredibly well, and that was like the biggest gap between myself and him, aside from the fact that he is orders of magnitude bigger than me as a creator. He is, undeniably one of the best Pokemon players of all time. And that is his authority that allows people who are new to the game to see someone and say, well, why should I be interested in what you have to say? I'm the best player in the game, full stop. Okay, you probably have some good takes. You probably at least have something that is worth me listening to, or some good insight towards the game that I might have not known otherwise. For me, it is a little bit more difficult because a lot of what I do is historical coverage. And like I said, I'm just not a top player. I'm not even that good of a player, to be honest with you. So that was a really, really big struggle for me for a long time when I started my channel, because a lot of the dialogue in, like 2017, 2018, I think the first frame data episode I made was in 2017 or 2018, and I was terrified to publish it, even though it got not a ton of views, whatever. Like, I was extremely small back then, but I was really scared to publish it because I think a lot of the conversation back then, and it kind of has come back to now, is, well, if you're not a top player, you don't really have anything of value to add here. Like, you can't provide any insight that I wouldn't already know from watching Mango or Hungrybox or Mewtwo King or whatever. And a lot of my efforts, again, stubbornly, was to try to defeat that claim and show you don't have to necessarily be a good player to know things about the game and to be able to share those ideas with other people, right? So to go back to the original question from Echo on Twitch, top players have, in my mind, an enormous opportunity that I could never, ever, ever have, right? Like, I can never take that. I can never monopolize that from them. And maybe that's another source of my frustration too, is there is so much on the table for Melee players, if they want to take it, if they have the desire to. And fairly, some of them maybe don't want to, which is, if they want to just play the game, then so be it. But don't come crying to all of us about not being able to sustain this career when there are opportunities and avenues for you to be able to, insert your voice and kind of give some more insight to the game that we all love, right? I'm sorry, I had the top of Twitter open because I hate going to fucking Twitter too. There's a Marvel Rivals clip that's just constantly replaying, and it's all of the visual clutter of Deadpool who just released. So I was super distracted while I was answering that question. Yeah, Echo Loco, top players have a fan base, use it, diversify. Yeah, totally. I mean, part of my edge when I had started, if you can even call it that, was that Melee is so boots on the ground, and it still is this way too, which is great. Like that is the beauty of the Smash, like from a content perspective, that I can tell you is that we are so accessible as people, for better or for worse, right? Like you guys, if you wanted to ask me something, you can just shoot me a message. You can find me on Discord, like whatever it might be, and like usually I'll answer. And it's the same for top players too. Like they are extremely, extremely accessible beings. They participate in these discussions. I actually asked Zane if he wanted to pop on, but he said he had a different stream going on. I think he's with Moki tonight. But like, that is an advantage of this ecosystem that some of the tier 1 esports don't necessarily have, is that these players, you can just walk up to them and say hello. There is not as much of a maybe like celebrity culture that surrounds them, which I think is really rad. And I think that's kind of like the grassroots thing that people are clinging on to when these arguments kind of arise and these retirements get announced. All right, let me go back to some more chat stuff. I see your messages in here, Blanc. I know we talked on Discord earlier. Join my Discord, by the way. I think someone asked for the Reddit thread as well, so let me just pull that up and I'll link it to YouTube and Twitch. By the way, I think I did this right. Here's the Reddit thread. Is there a vertical stream happening also? Can you guys confirm? I think I set that up correct. Are we getting the Zoomers in here now? People who are just scrolling along? I don't know how to change scenes. I can't. This is it. If you're on the vertical stream, that's it. So there you go. Yeah, Mono says, and Mono, if you want to pop in, I might give you a call in a bit too. So I'm keeping my Discord open, but I think for now we're kind of in a healthy conversation, and I'm ranting and raving right now. Why is this not moving? Oh my fucking god! Please. Yeah, Mono in the YouTube chat said Aklo made one video, got 170k views, and never did it again. Yeah, I mean, like, do those things take effort, right? Like, I think if you talk about the amount of time that is put into that video versus the viewership that you get out of it, maybe you're still negative, or maybe you're still red, right? I can tell you, because again, like, I think I'm extremely transparent when it comes to the happenings on YouTube that I have. I try to be really, really blatantly obvious about my sponsor segments. I try to be really, really blatantly obvious about you know, like how much money comes out of this stuff, because I want to like show that it's not this very impossible barrier to entry, right? And that's why I'm really excited. I talked about Mono just a second ago. Like he posted an interview with Zane the other day. He's starting to do some more content as well, because it's not this thing where, at least for me, it's not this thing where it's controlled by ego. I think a lot of people, when they are like editors and they're on YouTube, right, like the competition is so oversaturated that people get I can't take the dog out. You're literally a room next to me. I can't take the dog out. Whatever. Ohan? Oh, what's up, dude? You have so much to say on this topic. If you wanna call in, I'm down to chat. I'm super down to chat. What I was saying though is, like, from a strict profit margin perspective, like 170k views, I can tell you right now on average, and 100k view video on my channel, and I can't say that Aklo's average is probably that far off from what I would have gotten. For 100k views, I'm making anywhere between like $400 and $1,000 for 100k views. So you can do the math. 170k views. Let's say he's making $1,500. We go to his channel, and his channel had 4k subscribers, so I think he was monetized at that point, unless he wasn't posting, which he probably wasn't. Yeah, so who knows? Again, it's not to say that like it is an impossible task, and some of it is about like what is a comfortable amount of money that you can make, what is like acceptable to you, like either in society, what is what will allow you to put food on your table and pay your rent and stuff. And $1,500 straight up just doesn't do that. Like, if I'm being honest, right? Like, for an extended period of time, I understand that. All I mean is that, like, the opportunities are absolutely there. He wasn't monetized. I told him to wait to post the video until he got monetized, but he didn't. I mean, also fair. Like, that video alone gets him monetized, though, is the thing, right? Like, when I made my second channel, Turned Down for Alt, now Bonus Walt, I got monetized on that channel in 3 days because I posted a video and it got enough views to get me past the threshold. Anyone remember Save His Untitled Melee videos? He's the GOAT, bro. That guy's awesome. He's doing, like, Nuzlocke now. He's yeah, genuinely good dude. And I think, like, a lot of these people are just kind of, like, as the content creators, at least, are just people who are really into this thing. And whether they are like me and are getting almost, like, low-key bullied out of the community, or even like Save, I think, had a pretty unsavory experience with the community as well, which kind of drove him away. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but as far as I remember, I think he had, like, a pretty bad experience with the way people were treating him, and he was just like, fuck this, I don't want to do it anymore. Is Melee dying? I got a dip and want a quick TLDR. I mean, the TLDR, like I said before, is it depends on how you engage with the game. If you are purely into Melee as a spectator sport and want the esports bubble to be reinflated, this, that, and the other, then yes, Melee is dying. If you are into the game, like, for the reasons that a lot of other people are into the game, which is, you know, we'll play this game in the back of a 7-Eleven or whatever, which is what Mango said, and now he seems completely not on board with that now. But if that's the type of person you are and you want to, like, hang out with, you know, like, your friends, go to your locals or whatever, Melee's not dying. It's fine. A lot of people are telling me. Also, Melee's not dying because Rap Monster's the best player in the world. Let's be honest here. Lunadi Blade says, Melee is a game that kind of requires someone to introduce you, doesn't have pick up and play potential like mobile games are free to play. Yeah, I mean, there is a barrier, right? Like, there is some level of marketing that has to happen for you to be introduced to the world that exists beyond just playing free-for-all with your friends, right? And I think that's cool. Oh, people are going crazy on Twitch. Twitch of all places? Come on now. I love my local scene, and that's a big part of why I play. I enjoy the top players too, though. Yeah, I think that's completely fine then. I think in your case, Melee is probably not dying, right? Because you have friends and memories and good experiences that you will carry with you until the end of your days, right? And that's a beautiful thing. Speaking of the locals, and Ohan, I will call you in a minute if you want. don't go scorched earth on me, bro. But, like, I actually had a comment thread with the locals because I hit a point with the Reddit stuff where people were just talking so much about me in a generally negative way that it just kind of really got to me, and I kind of just, like, let it all collapse. And I'm not, like, that proud of allowing myself to get that low, but I think it also allowed the people who participate in these online forums and online discussions that are pretty degenerate sometimes, if I'm being honest. I think I'm not saying that as, like, a blanket statement for what it's worth. Like, so again, whoever's clipping me out of context, feel free, do whatever. But, like, I think the conversations that happen on, like, Reddit and otherwise are pretty productive for the most part. But my personal experience with some of those forums and some of, like, Twitter too, are people are really shitty because they're online and they're anonymous and whatever it might be. But, you know, I think me kind of, like, crashing out at that point allowed those people to understand that for me, the content creator, like, I am a human. And like I said before, these people who exist in the Melee ecosystem are so totally accessible, right? Like, you can just hit us up whenever. That we were being treated as, like, objects and not humans, and that really sucks to feel that way, right? Yeah, exactly. And Big Piney on Twitch. If you crash out, then they win. So like that was a big thing for me too. Of like, I'm playing this game of chicken. Of like, I have to consistently read this stuff over and over and over again. And it's the same for players too, for what it's worth. But like, there's a level of like of verbal, if you call it verbal abuse or whatever, that like you can take until you just crack, and it sucks. Like that feeling is so bad. And I let it get to me. But I think letting it get to me was actually a good thing in terms of people realizing that like we're all part of the same community, and we're all part of the same, we all enjoy the same thing. And circling back to the do you engage with this thing as a hobby or career discussion, we all have the same hobby, and like the level in which we engage with it as a career might be different, but all of us like the same thing. So it's kind of weird for some of these people to gatekeep that and to like act like they're bigger than this thing, or act like they can speak down to to other people. Like that sort of stuff, and like the online culture that surrounds the current community, I think is a little unsavory to me. You don't know what the death of Melee looks like unless you were in the scene when Brawl came out. Yeah, that's true too. I mean, like this stuff happens all the time, right? There are very few games, I think, who have survived as long as Melee. Like Magic the Gathering, a game that I also really, really love, is one that comes to mind for me because I think the history there is incredible, and it's like it's 30 plus years, right? Or 30 years at this point. But like very few games, at least in the modern era of video games, have a life cycle such as this, because a new one just comes out and replaces it, and that has not been the case for Melee, right? People who were doing the alienating were more focused on their sense of morals than what's actually good for the scene. Yeah, I mean, I think like, again, I said it at the start of the stream. I'm not interested in like fanning the discourse and let's get the new flavor of the month drama shit to talk about so everyone can complain for a week. But I do think that there is a lot of like moral grandstanding that exists here. And a lot of fence sitting that exists here, because it's always rules for thee and not for me. That stuff kind of sucks, and that stuff I think is really annoying. And to the people who are like, why can't we just play the game? I get it, like when that stuff happens, because it's just like, just enjoy the thing we want to enjoy, right? Like that's the whole reason we came here in the first place. Yeah, TF2 is another one too. Less Pier, am I pronouncing that right? TF2, also a game I love, but I've been playing Marvel Rivals now instead. Yeah, I Lemons, I'm not gonna get into the are the new brand plugs killing Magic, because personally I fucking love the Avatar set, and I'm a huge fan of Avatar in general. I've also heard that that the Final Fantasy set is like a top 10 draft format, which is kind of insane for how old the card game is. But we don't have to get into that. I do understand the people who are saying it. I talked about it in a previous stream as well. TF2, a mortal casual scene, yeah. I don't know if Melee has that, Red Warrior, because of the... maybe it has it more because of online now. But there is not really the same level of socialization online that TF2's casual scene has. I think that's probably the difference. Melee has like 0 casual scene, Mono said on Twitch. I think that's fair too. But like that kind of plays into my earlier point, right? Like, so if Melee doesn't have a casual scene, all of the people who are complaining about it dying are probably more into the legitimate esport than they lead on, right? Am I off base with that? I don't know. Mango maybe shouldn't have had as much influence. None of us actually know Mango, but we could all see he had a drinking problem. Look, I hope he's doing well. Again, talking strictly about that stuff, yeah, I think like there was a lot of player worship. I think there still is. I'm not necessarily saying it's like this horrible evil thing that like shouldn't exist, but like parasocial relationships are just bound to happen when you have these very, very wide gaps in skill that go from pro level all the way down to the bottom at casual. So like, did Mango in particular have too much influence over the scene? Maybe. I'm not really here to argue that. Ever since Panda collapsed, I feel like the community has been so divided on whether it's dying or not. Melee will live on always. Cockroach of esports. Yeah, I mean, look, I worked for Panda, right? for a couple years. I think that the Panda fumble is generational. At the same time, I think I really just... I said this straight up. Like, I just have little to no respect for... a lot of the people who assume the title of leaders in these esports spaces. Like, they're so pretend. These fake CEOs that like pretend to be busy and pretend to have like this really lucrative and important job so that they can take advantage of kids that are in college who want to make money playing video games, right? I think for Panda, the business side of it was actually pretty well thought out. But when things started crumbling down, I was very active on Twitter at this time, for better or for worse. The leadership at Panda left us out to dry, dude. Like, they did not try to help us at all. And for me, I was still an engineer back then. So for me, I was like, damn, I'm not making oodles and fuckloads of money anymore. That sucks. I gotta go back to being an engineer 9 to 5. Which I was doing. I was doing my engineering job full time, and then I would go home and produce for Panda, basically also full time. But like, for me, it wasn't a big deal when that stuff happened, or it wasn't as big of a deal. The thing that frustrated me is that there were a lot of people in that company who relied on that as their main source of income, as their main career. And that's where I like lose the respect of a lot of these people who are like high ranking CEO esports men people, right? Like, because it's like, dude, you just fucked over your whole company and like didn't even try to protect the people who built you into what you are. I don't know, that I got off script a little bit there, but it just frustrates me, man. I think and maybe this is part of the whole esports bubble popping or whatever, but like, the way that these people handle their own employees, the very people who help lift them up and elevate them into the titans that they are, there's just no respect, and that really bothers me. Can you extrapolate on that being left out to dry? So basically, when Panda started collapsing, our CEO played League of Legends for a full work week and didn't talk to any of our employees. So none of the employees who worked for the company knew that what was happening, and none of us had the level of like what am I looking for? The higher level of employment to be able to speak on the matter. Like, this was something that pretty much exclusively Alan needed to handle, and he just didn't. And look, like, maybe you cope in different ways. Like, I'm not here to like rag on the guy for being overwhelmed and like watching his company fail or whatever, but like, there are people who are at risk for this sort of thing, and that really sucks when like people's jobs are on the line and you just like don't do anything to help them. Like, they didn't offer severance to any of the employees as far as I was aware. There were still a ton of overdue payments as far as I was aware, which, hey, that's the esports classic, like Luminosity looking at you. You know, like, a lot of these companies, and I can tell you from experience, do not pay their staff either on time or at all. And that is like super, super predatory practice. I don't fuck with it at all. And it is a reason why a lot of people who are super esports pilled or like leaning into the esports world and wanting to have more legitimacy, whether it's in Melee or another esport, become extremely jaded and become extremely disenfranchised with the entire industry because they were quite literally taken advantage of. And like, that sucks, right? I don't have to worry about that at my current job. That is a crazy statement to make, right? Like, when I was starting my new job, they were like, oh, we're really excited to have you. And I go, oh, I'm really excited to get my paycheck on time. And they laughed, and I'm like, you actually think I'm kidding about this? This is a real concern. It's annoying. It's annoying. Luminosity still owes you money. What's up, Easy? Melee will only die when Turn Down for Walt closes his channel and starts making engineering videos. Dude, I thought about it, man. I made like a transdermal like electronic system, or like it basically I got to just like electrocute my friends as part of a test. But like we did this test years ago when I was in undergrad to try to see if we could train reaction time by using electromagnetic stimulation or electrostimulation. And it kind of worked. Maybe I could do some more crossover content like that. Because Alan got enough. Oh, I might be missing some of this conversation. Let me go back. Hang on. I'm missing part of this. Let me start with the Sol Harith's message. Extrapolate. Yeah, I mean, like, getting death threats and getting docs is never okay, right? Like, that's just not... That's not normal behavior. First off, you're fucking weird. Like, if this is, like, a thing that people want to do. But, yeah, I... Like, regarding the handling of the company, it just really bothered me. That's all. People talking about Melee stuff. Games die. Melee has had a life like no other. Yeah, and I mean, like, so Kerry Scott says Melee's had a life like no other competitive game because the love of the players have. It'll fade, but it'll be a beautiful fade. Like, I think again, I circle back to how you engage with the game definitely matters, right? Because, like, it might just not die, as far as we know. But it depends on what your definition of it dying is, so... Melee's less profitable because there's less viewers. That's partially true. The reason there are less viewers is the real subject of this discussion. I mean, viewership has been declining for years. That's always been an issue. But Melee is less profitable because there's just simply no ecosystem around it. There is not a governing body like Nintendo. Panda tried to be that, and people didn't fuck with it. But like, there is no system in place that allows the people who purely want to be good at the game to profit from it, because where is that money coming from? Most of the time it's coming from some rich guy who wants to host a tournament and fly out all these top players because it'll be really cool to do that sort of thing. And they're typically taking a loss for a lot of it. Like, I think Big House was in pretty good shape from when I worked there, as far as I remember. But like, even this year, like, RJ from Collision was extremely transparent about the financials that went into all of this. He said he was mega down, right? Like, he was mega red from running this tournament. And that sort of loss when you run a tournament makes you not want to run it again, because it's just this self-fulfilling prophecy, negative feedback loop. Yeah, this is an Ohan conversation. Hang on, I'm going to call Ohan. Okay. Ohan, fine. You got your wish, man. I got you. Give me a second. Where the fuck are you, dude? Give me 1 second to scrub through the rest of these messages. They're coming too fast and furious. Okay. Basically, I stopped at Easy Freezy saying Luminosity still owes me money. Which, hey, who knows? They're doing the Matryoka dolls or whatever. Like, we don't know what kind of company they are. They're getting sold to Vertical Studios or whatever, and Vertical Studios is selling them back. It's this whole big fuckery of who actually is supposed to pay me. I love it so much. I'm dealing with it myself, but yeah. What else? Thoughts on Luminosity dissolving? I mean, I think it was... There's a reason why I always posted that Bernie Sanders meme of how the fuck does Luminosity have this much money? It was always very perplexing to me that they were signing a ton of players. I don't know the insider of their financials. I know that they were publicly traded, which is probably where a lot of their income came from. But it was super confusing to me, at least having like an inkling of knowledge of what the players like MKLeo and all the big Ultimate Dogs were getting out of their contracts. And even Coney and some other people too, right? Like Coney was there, EE was there. There were a lot of heavy hitters in the scene, which probably cost them a lot of money. Hey, thanks for the follow as well. I don't know who this is. I can't read the text, but I'm seeing it as they pop up. I appreciate it. Hang on. Okay. What else? I should do a Let's Play channel. Are we bringing Let's Plays back? Hell yeah. Would I ever consider going back to my engineering job, or are you going to stick with Melee Esports for the long haul? I don't have much of a desire to return to engineering. I think like and again, like I talk about this with Panda collapsing, right? Like the fortunate position for me, and especially this was part of my dialogue with kind of like my internal monologue and also with my girlfriend when I was, you know, kind of bouncing around between do I go full time with Beast Coast, which I was extremely happy with for what it's worth, was like the fortunate thing is there are not a lot of people who are in a similar situation where like if I lost my job, I have a master's degree in engineering. So like I could go back. Do I want to go back? Not necessarily. Is there maybe some level of risk associated with me not working in engineering since 2022? Maybe. But I don't really have a desire to come back into this, to come back into that industry, unless, you know, like I was looking for more of like an in-office thing. I had to work every day during the pandemic too, because I was in essential business. I work for a medical device company. So that really sucked also. I think for me, the ability to work remote changed my life for the better in so many ways, right? Like it was so nice. So I think I would prefer to work in this, and I am working in video production that is not Melee and not esports. I just do this channel as basically a second job. But yeah, I was talking to some people about this, and I think like it was really confidence boosting for me to be able to get a job. And I made a community post about this for New Year's and everything too. I started a new job in August. Really good people. I love working there. Like they're great. But it was an extreme confidence boost for me to be able to prove that I could get a job in media that has nothing to do with Smash or esports or any of the production work that I've done for the scene. Like purely off of my own credentials, basically, and not have a degree in film or whatever else, right? So that was like a big confidence booster for me. And I think now that I'm at least decently more established, i.e. I have a job in some level of production that isn't in esports, I think I can probably just find something else, or I could freelance again. So I'm not really worried about the future when it comes to that. But I appreciate you asking that question. Thank you. The effect you have on the scene is crazy. I'll be playing Smash while having your videos on. It's insane how good your content is. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you. I've fallen extremely behind in reading these messages, so I'm going to skip a few, but thank you for that. Oh, Carthus, what's up? You have enough content creator experience to get a job in the industry, even if it's not Melee related. Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to say it didn't help that I had this, right? Like that was I leaned on that so hard when I was interviewing. But I think the fact of the matter was for me that it was really nice to be able to show that I could do this thing without having to be like, put my Melee content creator hat on, right? Pivot out of Melee has been really good for the channel, right? I mean, look at the most recent videos, right? Like they've been more holistic on the Smash series, and they went nuclear. So yeah, it's been pretty good. Also, what's up, Avenger? Good to see you, Spencer. Is Melee cooked, yes or no? We'll get to that. We've been getting to that, dog. Okay, I think I've gotten back to current. Am I still friends with Awesome Sauce? Yeah, I talked to him yesterday. All right, is it time to pull the drawstring, Ohan? Are you gonna reveal all the secrets to me? Where are you, bro? Hang on. All right, man. I will say this if you're still listening, and I'm gonna say it again. when I call in case the stream delay doesn't catch you. Don't fuck up the vibes here, man. You can talk about whatever you want, but just don't make it bad. That's all I'm asking. I had a couple more Twitch messages, and I'll call you. Final Smashes Don't Work is my best performing video. I think it just overtook it. I know Jake, who was in the chat earlier, who's editing these stream videos, said I have a new highest video on this channel, at least, which is nice. Dude, I love getting confidence boosts like that too. Like when I was pretty active editing for Wolf, one of the videos I made for Wolf was top 5 trending. It wasn't trending for gaming, it was trending on the main trending page. It was like this video I made was next to a Billie Eilish music video. Isn't that fucking crazy? Mono, I mean bad, like don't make it. I don't want people to get angry. But I don't know. Whatever, it doesn't matter. All right, Ohan, I'm calling you. Echo Storm? What? Oh my god. Yo, okay. If you look, that guy's my goat. Echo Storm. One's in the chat for Echo Storm, bro. Holy moly. Dude, what is up, man? I saw you message, but I don't go on Twitter that often, but I want to say I miss you. There were also... Oh, what's up, Ventus? Hey. There were also series and moves you made that were also kind of walking advertisements for things you do or other entities. Dude, that is another thing. I'm going to let Ohan kind of talk his shit for a minute. Write that message again to me, Ventus, because I can go off about that sort of thing. That is another one of my frustrations. Yeah, thank you for the being a good streamer note, Mono. So hey, I'm gonna call Ohan. For the people who don't know, Ohan is an evil corrupt TO, who is a friend of mine, friend of the channel as well. So say hello to Ohan. He runs Tipped Off series. He's genuinely good dude, and he has a lot of insider on this stuff. I have wanted to have these conversations with tournament organizers for a very long time. So again, in the spirit of full transparency, he runs more than Tipped Off, but Tipped Off is a huge tournament. But yeah, in the spirit of full transparency, and like wanting to have these dialogues and wanting to be able to engage you guys as well, I think it's important that we talk to these people and kind of hear what they have to say. So, Ohan, I'm gonna call you, and we'll sort out the audio details in a moment. Oh man, what's up, dude?
What's up? Turned down for Walter. How's it going?
Hello. All right, chat. Tell me if you can hear Ohan.
What's up, chat? YouTube and Twitch chat and wherever
else. Dude, and YouTube Shorts, man.
YouTube
or something.
Shorts,
I don't know. I think I'm
or...
doing both. No, I didn't do TikTok. Fuck TikTok.
I see.
He's quiet,
Fair
but
enough.
yes. Is there a way I can make you more than 200%?
Now I could talk louder. That would be helpful. I could use my vocal cords, maybe.
Okay.
I'll do my best for Twitch chat. That's when I have it pulled up. But...
His volume's low. Let me see. I'm trying, dude. He's at 200%. I told you I'm not a good streamer, guys.
Could boost me in OBS, maybe? I don't know. Mono normally does all this stuff for me.
Oh, I could do that, couldn't I? But then I would also have to boost you in. Now you're boosted on the desktop audio.
Turn up for Walt. Mono says that's good.
God damn it.
That's good. Should save that.
Do you have a mixer or anything?
No, dude, I run Melee tournaments for a living. What are you talking about? You think I'm technically literate? Like,
Amiibo Doctor, thanks for the Superman. I appreciate it. Melee's rip, long live Amiibo training. Fuck yeah. Alright, here's what we're gonna do. Turn my whole Discord... Blanc, you know I'm not good at Discord either. How do I turn my whole Discord volume up? Oh, speaker volume. Okay, talk again.
testing.
Go again, go again.
Hello, world.
Oh, I think we did it. Oh, Blanc, you're a genius. Holy shit.
Holy shit.
Alright.
Alright. What's up, Mr. Turndown for Walter? How's your night going?
It's going, man. I had a good volleyball sesh tonight. Played like a beast, and now I'm
Nice.
here to talk about all this stuff. I'm ready for you to just unload, bro.
Unload. Wow.
Yeah,
So
just
yeah, I
let it
mean,
happen.
I think I have a unique perspective on this because I mean, literally in 2025, I ran more melee majors than everybody else in the world combined, right? So it's like I've been around the block, at least in like recent kind of melee, timelines, and I think it's always very interesting because we do have this melee is dying discussion, like I think pretty regularly, like maybe like once a year, it kind of pops up, right? And because it's like kind of such a frequent discussion, people are pretty quick to like dismiss it, right? Like they don't really talk about like the actual like details, like maybe the nuance of what's going on, or maybe even like critical points, which I think is pretty interesting. But I think there are like legitimate points of concern, right, as far as like how melee operates and how it's really not currently sustainable, right, from my perspective, as
Okay.
someone that works and runs a lot of melee tournaments. So I think, in my perspective, right, it's like if we look at melee currently, it's kind of broken into like chunks. I would say there's like the major level experience, the local level experience, and like the online experience, right, would be kind of the three big like pie parts of the graph.
Okay. Okay.
And I think really they all kind of play into each other in a sense, right? Like they're very, fluid. And so that's kind of like my first critique of like this discussion where we have it is that people try and like isolate those and say like, oh, I only care about like Slippy or like I only care about locals or something like that. But like they all obviously like play hand in hand, right? Like they're all like very symbiotic in like the ecosystem, to some degree, right? And so pretending that like top players retiring or like majors not existing like won't eventually have an impact on like the local you go to or like the Slippy player base or like melee content is just like ludicrous, right? Like,
Sure.
they're
Yeah.
obviously not all isolated in that front. So I think to start there, like, yeah, I think on the major front, right, which is like a lot of like what I've put my time into in the past like 18 months, 2 years, it's like to my knowledge, I think only one melee tournament at the major level in 2025 didn't lose money, right? And that's a huge problem,
Are you at
right?
liberty
And
to say
like,
who?
I think people could probably assume who,
Yeah,
right? I think if you
I
pulled
have an
up an
idea as well,
attendees
but
list
so,
and you
okay.
looked at who entered, how many people were at each tournament, I think you could probably point out
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
outlier there, right? So, and great for them, right? Like, I mean, that's more power to them, right? But I think people just don't understand like what it's like running a major tournament, and I think that's honestly on a lot of TO's faults, including myself. Like I think we haven't made that process very transparent for people, right?
Sure.
Um,
Yeah. I guess
even like
like
when we do suffer losses, right? Like I don't think people are very quick. Like you talked about RJ's post, like he was, made like a twit longer and talked about it, but that's quite rare, right? Especially when everybody's losing money, right? That like RJ's like the one that went on Twitter and like talked about it, right?
he's the most
So
vocal about it, I think, or at
for
least
sure,
like in modern day. But I guess like where
yeah,
I'm trying to go with this then is like I don't know if and maybe you disagree with this, but I don't know if I don't think the conversations about like, oh, let's say XYZ tournament, right? I'm not going to name one, but like let's say this tournament spends
yeah.
100K on running an event. Like people don't necessarily need to know that. Like it's helpful to these discussions if we had hard numbers, and that was something that I wanted to do with Robin for Big House for a period of time, and even like Bobak for Genesis, which they weren't opposed to doing, but I don't think it's necessarily like a requirement in order to be able to follow suit with a successful event, right? Like you can provide the blueprint to people who are prospective or up and coming tournament organizers and say, hey, this is how I did it and I was profitable or whatever. But having the number is a helpful thing. It's not necessarily a requirement. So I guess like what I'm trying to get at here is like, do you think that the idea of being more transparent about this is how much money I'm losing, is that like a red herring? Like, are we going in the wrong direction for something like that? Because I don't necessarily think that like it's helpful for the people who are watching my stream right now to know that like
Hmm.
you spent a ton of money on this tournament or like you got a sick deal
Yeah.
on a venue, right? Like all they care about is the event and the experience at the end of the day.
For sure, right? And I think it's a very tricky line to call. So you talk about like Big House and Robin and, like resources. Like when I started running Tipped Off, I did not obviously, found Tipped Off. Tipped Off started in 2007, almost 20 years ago, right? And when I started, like I asked the former head TO, Full Metal was his tag, for a lot of like resources, right? About, like how he operated the tournament, like budgets and how he structured a lot of that stuff. And like the fact is, even then, but especially now, it's like basically unusable, right? Like the industry, just for, event organizing as a whole, but especially at that scale, has like just completely changed, right? And in so many ways. And like, we can talk about like the economy and a bunch of stuff like that, but
I mean, it's always going to be
I think
changing
it is very
times
hard where it's
for
like,
the moment,
of course,
right? Like the year that
yeah.
you're in. Also, sorry to cut you off there, but I know for like for Full Metal too, you and I interviewed for some Tipped Off stuff that we were working on together. And I think this is really relevant as well. Like Red Warrior on YouTube said, not gonna lie, transparency about money loss makes the situation look more dire. I think that's true. I think maybe the doomers and criers about Melee dying probably get a little bit louder if that stuff kind of comes out in the open. But these conversations are important to have sometimes. But like for Full Metal's case, right? Like I think he pretty openly said he had some financial trouble before he passed off the series to you, even.
Yeah, there was about a 5-year gap, maybe 4-year gap from basically the two Tipped Offs. The last one he ran, the first one I ran, and like he sold his house following his Tipped Off and kind of the financial, struggles he had there. But he was very transparent about it. And so, yeah, I mean, I think there's credit to saying that like it's very doomer, like maybe it's not beneficial to talk about, the hardships of a tournament or to do a GoFundMe like he did or something like that, right? Like it obviously does make it dire, but the reality is it is dire, right? Like we do have tournaments that are like, yeah, I don't know if I'm running next year, or like, there's like questions about their future because of like this financial difficulty, right? Like, I mean, I know of major tournaments that have lost 6 figures running their iteration in 2025, right? And so it's one of those things where like, yeah, it's maybe not, it's not a great look to say that like, hey, we're losing a bunch of money or whatever, but like it's the reality, right? And so like if people want that tournament to exist, right, I think it's maybe time to have that very like open and earnest conversation about the finances and that whole like business model,
I mean, I guess Mono and Dark Genix, I'm gonna add you to the call if you want to be in it. Hang on.
My goats.
I think Justin only has a few minutes, he said. So if you want to be in it, just let me know. But I will add Mono because he's asking a lot of good questions. I think it's just worthy to have him in the call at this point and just kind of say it out loud. Because I think the point that he just made too, and it kind of aligns to what you were just saying, is what do we do about the current situation? What information does everyone need? Need is a key word here to have in order to be on the same page. I don't think they need this information, but I think it helps, right? Like it helps make it a little more one unit or whatever the fuck, right? Like, but we
for sure,
we can talk about like, oh, this event is doing really well. Does it personally get me really mad when people are like, oh, as like a production guy, right? Like, oh, my tournament's losing a ton of money, and it's like, damn, dude. And this is related to Ventus Official's comment in the YouTube chat earlier before I called Ohan. But it's like, damn, I'm doing all the fucking marketing for your tournament for free, by the way. So maybe you should just, like, do more. I don't know. Like, am I being crazy to say that? Like, am I being kind of, like, crass? Maybe a little bit, but...
Yeah, I mean, before Dark Gen X hops in this call, to quote K-pop Demon Hunters, it's like you can't fix it if you don't face it, right? Is the reality. Like there's something with the major business model that like has to be fixed. Is the reality, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody's just hemorrhaging money. It's obviously currently not sustainable. Like venues aren't going to get cheaper in the future, right? Like there's something not working. And I think at the point it's like if everybody's in the situation basically, right, except for the one outlier that like we probably both know the name of and why that happened, it's like it's kind of time for like a community-wide discussion about like what does the landscape, like how do we create this like product that people are interested in and do it in a way that's potentially sustainable, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna pop these two in so they can join in whenever.
Hey, what's up?
What's up? Well, we got
How
some
you doing?
friends of the channel in here. We're fucking
council.
cooking tonight, man. I was not prepared for this to go this way. I actually I knew it was gonna go this way, but I can't say I was prepared. All right, everyone say hi to Mono and Dark Genix. Current top 50 player, prospective top 50 to 100
No,
player.
I didn't make it, man.
You didn't make it? Oh fuck, I'm sorry.
No, I mean I wasn't gonna make it, but that's fine.
You're top 100 in
your
my
year.
heart, bro.
I appreciate
And
it.
we still got Ohan here as well, who's gonna again unload all the secrets,
I
the
do my
dirty
best.
laundry of the world here.
I think
Yeah, go ahead. Let's go. Let's do
Justin,
it.
Justin, are you there by the way?
Yeah, I'm
Hello?
here. Can you hear me?
Okay,
Is it
cool.
is
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is it busted?
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
But I think that right before I hopped into the call, Ohan jumped on a pretty key point here, which is like the point of this should not be to necessarily unload the financial security of these tournaments onto a community, people who really do not have a whole lot of agency over it. I think it's more so about the understanding of the situation only in as much as it informs people's like willingness to collaborate and to understand that this community is vulnerable and that it's something that people need to come together and support and bolster. Like part of the grassroots nature of the Smash community is that it is, you know, a boots on the ground thing, like you were saying, Walt.
I do have
You
a
know?
thought about this, Justin. I don't know if you want to chime in first.
Sure.
Are you going, or am I going?
I was waiting for you. I was just
Oh,
like,
okay,
yeah,
okay.
like,
It's
you-
like-
I was just like, sure, yeah, go for it. And then you know.
I think I like I don't like. Obviously, we're on my channel right now. Like we're streaming to however many people who are listening to the conversation. I'm glad you guys came in here. It feels weird always like kind of tying this back to myself, but I know I've talked with both of you, all three of you actually separately or together at one point, and kind of just like aired my grievances about this stuff. And I think what you're saying, Mono, makes a lot of sense. It frustrates me because I think there is, and I don't want to say it's like fake because I don't think it is, but I think it is frustrating to me in my own personal experience and how I engage with the community, where it feels like outwardly all of these people are like, fuck yeah, like we do it all together, grassroots all the way, baby. And then like maybe behind closed doors or even very open doors on Reddit, they're like, fuck you, Walt, kill yourself, like you're an asshole, I hate you, blah blah blah. And I'm like, that is not cool. Like you should not speak to that way to people. I just feel like there's such an extreme level of contrast between like the way that the like aggregate of the community presents itself and the way that like we actually speak to each other, and like online spaces certainly play a role in that sort of thing. And I think it plays into your greater point, Mono, of like we're not really as united about like what needs to happen or like what we feel needs to happen in order to quote unquote save this thing as maybe we lead on to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you know, the Smash community has like branded itself as grassroots, and has this idea that does not involve any sort of like money or logistics or infrastructure. And the thing is, ultimately, like any kind of enterprise at the scale of like the Smash community running these big tournaments that people fly across the world to go to, like that requires money, like whether we like it or not. And I think that like part of you know, you existing in this space, creating content, and you know, making a buck or two off of it, I think people see that as somehow insincere or incongruent with the idea of this being a for fun grassroots thing.
Yeah, I get it.
But ultimately, all of this stuff, people pay to go to these tournaments, and people pay to operate these tournaments, and at some point there has to be like an understanding that like for this thing to exist, it like all of these components, be it the content or the online or the majors or the local level, have to work together to make this thing sustainable.
Yeah, other note here from Big Piney.
Well, it's like I said.
The Cody made $1,200 from the announced Japan tournament, right? Like that doesn't even cover your flight, if we're being honest. And we can go more
I
into
can
the
answer that one
financials or whatever, but-
specifically, right? Yeah, I can answer that.
Like
one
I know you guys
specifically,
like we
but-
paid for flights and like whatever, like I get it, but you know, like when you talk about just like raw profit margins, It's kind of
For sure.
crazy when
Yeah.
you think about it. But
No,
someone
it
else,
is
someone else
very
go.
crazy. Yeah, I mean, to talk about what Mono said, it's like, it's kind of what I said at the start, right? It's like this all is very symbiotic, right? Like, I think people like to put their head in the shell and it's like, oh, I don't go to, Genesis or whatever major of, insert major here, and it's like I just go to my local, right? I don't watch top player streams. I just go to my local, whatever. You hear that all the time when we have this discussion, right? But there is like a trickle down effect of these things, right? Like, I was kind of talking to Mono earlier about this, where it's like I really think locals are kind of a test of like player retention, right? It's like, there are people that go to locals forever, right, and have been going for 10 years. Like I have GAOS as like my local guy, right? He's the only guy that still goes to majors, that went to Game Over back in 2004 and like watched Chillin' Dude beat Ken and stuff like that, right? Like he's a a legend. But even at that point, right, it's like eventually there will be a trickle down effect of that, right? Like he still is engaged because it's like watching the streams and watching the tournaments and stuff like that, right? Like there will be kind of this like erosion effect if it starts to fall apart, because they all do play hand in hand, right? And I think it's really, really short-sighted of people to talk about like, just the like isolated part of the community when, it's obviously been built up this way for a reason, right? And it's operated this way for so long for a reason. So
I think there also is a pretty staggering difference between the crowd of people that is watching top 8 at most super majors, or I guess like why VG bootcamp events still to this day have significantly higher viewership and BTS Smash events still have significantly higher viewership than most other Twitch streams. It's because they've built up that audience, and because there isn't particularly like a central hub for when events are happening, most people don't know that majors are occurring until right beforehand, because of like social media exodus, or because things aren't advertised particularly well, or like I know that with like we can talk about the other game, right? Like the one that we can't talk about. We're able to talk about that here.
What other game?
you think he's talking about
one.
Project Make Believe? Yeah.
Oh,
That one.
yeah, I don't fucking
But,
care.
like,
Do whatever you want.
They,
It's like,
but like they are a much smaller game than Melee is, and they stream everything on the same channel. Like they have a Nexus. Like I think it's called PM Nexus, and like
yeah, they're a great channel.
And it's like if you're following the PM scene, which is significantly smaller, like a dwarf compared to what Melee is, which is already not a very large scene. The fact that you can just, if you want to watch top level PM, you can just check PM Nexus and there's a major happening. Whereas like if you don't follow Melee and you're a casual viewer and you're just used to seeing, I don't know, a Genesis or a Super Smash Con Supernova-esque event, and you're not really that in tune with the scene, of which a lot of our top players don't really use public social media as often as they used to, and why a lot of people have like in comparison to like 2015 doc era, where there's literally documentaries and videos that express people's personalities, and we have summits that get a spotlight on all of our new players. A lot of our top 50 players and top 100 players, most viewers have no idea who they are, because they don't post anything publicly, they don't produce content, and they don't have they don't utilize their platforms to let themselves shine as players, so people aren't as interested. And because it's all disjointed, like we were talking a little bit, I'm kind of like rambling in several directions now, but because things aren't as connected as they once were, we are not this unified grassroots like fantasy scene that a lot of our players idealize about. Like we are not that. There are a lot of disjoints and a lot of disconnections.
Yeah.
Then I guess I would ask, like in the interest of trying to direct this a little bit, like what are the unifying steps that the community can take to rectify that?
Yeah,
Like,
not to like circle around the same thing, but someone on Echoloco on Twitch said, or not Echoloco, Larry on Twitch said, YouTubers like you and now TikTokers need to carry the community to build the narrative / the community. I don't know if everyone agrees on that, and I think that's kind of like like the crux of the issue, right? Yeah. Like, because I think it's a fine enough suggestion. Is it something that me personally as a YouTuber wants to do? No, not really. But like, some people believe that to be like what's needed to like to like make this an okay thing or make this bigger than what it is. I think the fact is, and this is kind of just repeating what everyone else has said already, so going back to Mono's question, if anyone has an idea or an answer for it, then go ahead. But it's like, this kind of exemplifies the entire idea that like this is a totally fine suggestion, but you are buried for it because certain people or certain groups of people don't necessarily agree that that's the correct way to do it, right? And that's like, congratulations, like you're in Animal Crossing now, and like you have to live in this community and like coexist with all these other people, and you got to do it all together. But we're not doing it all together at all, and we don't really agree on a correct way to do it until someone just like decides to do something. So I think that's kind of the problem. Oh, we got Jason in the chat too. What's up, dude?
I mean, I would say that there's really only two paths forward, right? Like one of them is informing people and getting everybody on the same page and working together towards a trajectory. And the other one is people stepping up and making steps and kind of dragging people kicking and screaming in the direction that they personally see the game going.
Yeah.
And I don't know that...
For sure.
Unfortunately, one of those is preferable and the other one is much more realistic.
Yeah, I think it's also like the oh sorry, Johan. I think like what I was saying at the start of the stream before I called you guys was a lot of this, in fairness, is just how much you wish to engage in the scene. And I think the truth of the matter is that Melee as an ecosystem just simply does not support people who want to just play the game, right? Like if you're Cody, or if you're a top 10 player, or if you're a top 20 player, or you want to like do this thing and make it into a career path, it just simply won't work in Melee because the ecosystem that surrounds it and these people like RJ who are losing thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars cannot support you like living your Robin Hood life where you are robbing RJ to line your own pockets, right? Because it just doesn't work that way. Like there's not enough money, first off, like there is literally not enough overhead to be able to do that. And people like these tournament organizers, and Ohan, I know you're about to talk, but you can speak more on this, are going to eventually fizzle out because they're like, why the fuck am I spending tens of thousands of dollars into this stuff? If A, I don't feel appreciated doing it, and it is, or B, it is constantly losing me money year after year after year. It is just this increasingly downward slope that is happening here. That's not motivating by any means. And I know you can speak to this more as someone who has been a lot closer to this than I have.
Yeah, so I mean,
I'm sorry.
yeah, I was gonna say, I think, yeah, it's one of those things where they always said TOing was like a thankless job, right? Like that was always the classic saying. But I think for such a long time, Melee did really work on this ecosystem of just like, there would be a couple people that did everything or ran these big tournaments or something like that, right? And then they would eventually get burnt out or like, you know, suffer some like financial hardship, and then they would just disappear, right? And we were just kind of content with shoveling more people onto the, you know, more coal into the fire, if you will, right? Like there's always more people to burn through. And I think we're kind of reaching a point where like there isn't always more people to burn through, right? Like, and you know, and something like 2022, 2023 compared to now, there's about like half or less than half the amount of major tournaments that there were back then, right? Like there weren't people, you know, popping up to replace them. Like there are people that came during that time, like, you know, myself even, right? But they did not pop up at the rate that we were losing them, right? Just because it just doesn't work that way anymore.
Yeah, I think
or like the ecosystems change.
I think like even with content too, like I talked to all of you guys about this at one point, but you know, like there hits a point where like people and humans are not really built to sustain this level of like online visibility and like abuse to a certain extent. And I remember like I had actually posted, it's topical enough, I made the Joshman documentary that I was sitting on for months to years. Actually, I did that interview with Joshman in like 2022, and I finally published it I think last year. And I remember someone shared it to the Reddit, and the top comment was something to the effect of like, I genuinely do not understand what we as a community gain by trying to push out one of the biggest content creators in our scene. Or like, you know, call me a content creator or whatever, right? Like I think it does exist at all of these levels, whether you're a tournament organizer, a YouTuber, or just someone who casually engages with the community. Like there hits this like level and threshold where you're like, why do I want to engage with this anymore? It was like with when the locals talk came up, someone was like, I don't remember the last time I've seen you at a local. And I was like, well, first off, I'm a man with man responsibilities. And if you must know, I play in a volleyball league on the same day and time as our local, and it's with other Smash players. It's not like the relationships that I have made from this game have allowed me to pursue another hobby, a hobby that can eventually turn into something more if we wanted to pursue that route, but like it is a hobby, just like everyone gets into it that way. But like in the same sentence, I'm kind of like, in truth, why the fuck would I want to go? Like, if this is the conversation that happens and like we're getting scrutinized about like, oh, let's keep tally of how many people go to their locals or do that sort of thing. I'm losing the script on this part, but like I just wanted to put that out into the world. So
if it's of any like anything else too, I'm pretty sure that you went to more stock exchanges than I did last year.
yeah, but the thing is, you're more visible as a player than I am, so I think that also matters.
I mean, I feel like there's like a level of insular gatekeeping, but it's like when you're talking about visibility, like you have more visibility than most people in the scene, like most top players do combined. And what you are doing and putting out, and I'm saying like I'm gonna zoom out a little bit, not specifically with just you, but people who create content and are developing ways of allowing people to want to gain interest into the scene, I think are doing more for the scene's growth as a whole than maintaining specifically local scenes are. And I think there's like, and I know that sounds like completely insane and against what a lot of people would talk about with grassroots, but just hear me out for like a minute.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is a difference between keeping the scene's local growth alive and having players attend your local events, build up to regionals, and those are the people who are competing at, you know, the Genesises and the Supernovas and the Smash events that, you know, are, as we've discussed before, either barely breaking even, barely making a profit, or losing tens of thousands of dollars. The thing that makes people get really interested into the game, sorry, I'm just like 20 seconds, is making people want to watch tournaments. I think that those views and people who are watching, you know, Walt's videos, people who are watching, like, you know, I think his name is like, you know, RDE, the person who makes like the FGC like TikToks. And when we're talking about the TikTokification of like social media, it's those views that will transform into the people who are going to events more so than building up, like having a local in your scene and not advertising that. Because if you're advertising a local solely insular to the Melee community itself, you will never grow. But the scene's growth is based on getting new players to play the game. And I think that while it is true, like a lot of people don't want to make like YouTube shorts and make like TikToks, but that is the next generation of people who is going to be keeping our game alive. Oham was talking before about the burnout of like, we used to have this chug of burning out people who would be running really nice events and then going on to the next person, and we are running out of those next people. It's not something that's going to sustain.
Yeah, I think that it's crazy to not think that the content is important when the whole generation of players that we are talking about now leaving is called Doc Kids. And you know, it's a community of people who ostensibly got into the game because they watched a video. Right, and you only have to go so far as to look at like Wolfie reviving Pokemon's community, or even like Jinxie in Rainbow Six Siege, and to see that like the content creation side of this stuff is the primary driver for people to be involved in these like games, especially retro games that don't have official developer support.
Yeah, I think
I'd like to say one thing too before I pass back to Walt, just to comment on this, because I think Justin brought up a really good point, you know, Matt too, and it's like, I think my opinion on this is I've never really heard someone else say this, but I think it's true, where it's like, you know, you go to a tournament like Genesis, like how many people at a 1,500 person Genesis actually care about how they place, right? Or like actually they're strictly as competitors, right? I think maybe 10 to 20%, right? Like the truth is at any given major, 80 to 90%, right? 80 to 90% of people are actually not part of the competitor market, right? They are the top 10%, top 5% of the spectator market, right? Like they're just the people that like Melee, like watching Melee so much that they pay the money, fly out there and watch it in person, right? And I think that's very different than if we were having this conversation, a decade plus ago, right? Like, I think if we were at Evo 2013 or, some major back then, right? Like, we'd probably maybe see the numbers and the vibe around that different. But the truth is just like, when you show up to a tournament, like, people know who's good. People know how good everybody is now, right? Like, there's no mysticism around like skill anymore, right? It's just completely shifted to this production value, like spectator-esque product. And I think that's really, really significant in how we like structure events and tournaments moving forward, for sure.
Yeah,
sorry, go for it.
What I wanted to say for Mono's point too is I think it's not just content. I think like my main point to get out of this too is it's like the way that you choose to engage with the community doesn't have to be this linear thing. Like, oh, you either play the game or you don't. Because how do people become fans of certain things? They can watch it, they're introduced to it by their friends. I don't play hockey, but I love watching it as a sport. Am I like gate kept from hockey because I've never like picked up a pair of skates and like fucking trucked a guy on the ice before? I think that's a pretty stupid outlook, if I'm being honest. But like whether it's content or like a way that you have found to carve out for yourself to engage with the community, I think my whole point with this is that it doesn't have to be strictly playing, and it never had to be strictly playing for you to enjoy a thing with people who are hopefully going to become your friends. And that's the thing that's like kind of frustrating for me is I don't know like when it became this thing of like, well, if you don't like play the game, like we don't have anything to say about you or whatever. I also like, I'm scrolling back up too because Ventus made a point earlier that I wanted to comment on, but he said for the ecosystem thing. So to be fair, the ecosystem in most esports and sports in general do not supply that. I don't think that's true, Ventus. I think that the ecosystem in like the NBA allows these players to, and obviously we're talking extremely different degrees of scale, right? And scope, but the NBA players have agents who do their marketing for them. They have social media managers who allow them to never have to look at their profiles if they don't want to, right? And even to a certain degree, like big YouTubers, for instance. I know like, I've talked with Wolf at length about a lot of this stuff, and he's like, I don't look at Twitter at all, and I don't go on Twitter personally either. And a lot of us don't because that website fucking sucks, but like, we don't go on this stuff, and like at a certain point, it is probably more cost effective for these people to hire a manager to do that sort of thing for them, because it just makes more sense to do it that way. But there are absolutely systems at play, whether it is a larger e-scale during maybe the bubble period of esports or just a traditional sport, that enable players to focus on the thing that they do best, which is playing their game or playing their sport or being the best possible player that they can possibly be. And I think maybe like kind of coalescing these two subjects is that there might be some level of disconnect there in terms of, oh, well, these other tier 1 esports and regular sports allow their players to just play the game, and like they make a fuckload of money, and like they all have careers or whatever, so why can't we do that? And I think that's part of the disconnect that has come into existence here.
Yeah, I mean, but at a certain point, people have to play the hand they're dealt.
Yeah, I'm saying Isles Dead channel, like I kind of disclaim the NBA thing. I'm talking about obviously like multiple factors of separation between an NBA player and a Melee player. I'm not trying to make a comparison one-to-one to them, but I'm saying like even a League of Legends player, right? Like Faker has a I guess like namely like a sponsor, right? That allows him to be a player, and like sometimes you participate in the content because that's part of what your contract requires of you, but like you're just a player, right? Like a lot of these people in these tier 1 esports are brought in as players strictly to compete, but Melee does not allow for that sort of thing.
Because Melee there isn't a league.
Yeah, but well, that's
sorry, go on.
I was gonna say that's because there's actually ROI from like having Faker and
totally.
Like paying someone to film content with Faker and Faker winning a tournament, right? Like, it's like it's like having whatever player on your team. It doesn't. You can just insert a player here, Zane, Mega, whoever, right? Like it doesn't matter. Like winning a tournament basically does nothing in the Melee sphere for your brand, right? Like, you know, I mean, and we could get into a whole spiel about this and like, you know, sponsorship engagement and stuff like that, right? But it's like, you know, it's one of those things where like, yeah, there really isn't ROI to invest in Melee players where there is like basically any other esports, right?
I think that's
it's just
fair.
the truth.
You know what's funny is
that makes it very difficult. Very
I
difficult.
was talking with some tri-state players. I won't name them because I don't want to blow up their spot. But they were laughing at me because I was like, dude, I was like, they placed pretty well in doubles at a tournament. And I was like, dude, the hilarious thing is I actually think that you could probably send an email to like a random like company or sponsor or whatever and be like, hey, I'm like a pretty good doubles player. I'd love to work with you. And you're already doing much more than the average player is in terms of just branding themselves and trying to make this into a sustainable career. And B, I think it would actually work, which is the hilarious part to me. And they like we went back and forth, like they're pretty good friends of mine, but they were just like, there's no way like a random sponsor would do XYZ. And I'm just like, I don't know, man. Like you'd be surprised at how willing certain companies are to just throw money at the thing until it completely does not work anymore. And like case in point, this is why we spent the last 2 hours talking about if Melee is actually dying. Depends on how you look at it is the answer to that question. But like everything that has led to this point has been random companies, whether it is, you know, Panda Global or Yummy Pepperoni or you know, like Nouns was like the topic of the month for a period of time. Just throwing money at the thing, or you're a rich as fuck individual throwing money at this thing and then being like, well, damn, I spent $40,000 making this tournament. That wasn't smart. I guess I'm just not going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Well, I think that may I?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that like the situation that the Melee community is currently facing is, you know, having it pretty good for itself for a long time and being able to exist off of these external like care packages basically. But ultimately, like you're saying, you're talking about players reaching out to these sponsors and trying to get themselves sponsored. I don't know that the current community base or the players are educated enough or have that kind of understanding of like this community doesn't operate in that way to where that is like a normal course of action, and the expectations that those are the steps that somebody might have to take to get sponsored and exist financially, like sustainably in this community. Like that is not how the community operates, and so like something's gonna have to change. Because
I think that's fair, but I also think like I don't know. Again, I'll use myself as an example. I didn't know how to reach out to brands. I just did it. Right?
Yeah, but
and
you've also
I
been an
wasn't
adult man in the world, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
but like I want to say like it
Yeah.
wasn't like pretty when I first did it. It wasn't this beautiful, eloquent thing that I was like sending out to people. I was like, hey man, like I have a YouTube channel. It has this number of subscribers. Do you want to give me money? And like I joked about this at one point actually, because when Gen Assist, not Genesis, came out, maybe real ones in the chat if you remember that, press 1. But we did a fundraising thing for Genesis when Sheridan and them got shut down right after Big House, and it was like this big thing we did pretty close to 5 days of Melee. I had a pretty big hand in that. Transparently speaking, I went to all these different companies. I raised like $15,000 for this Genesis program. And I remember at the time I tweeted, I was like, bro, marketing's easy as fuck. All I did was just ask these people for money and they said yes. And like, I'm half joking about that, but I'm like, this is when I was talking to my friends who did well at the doubles tournament. I'm like, hey dude, like you think it's funny, but like you would be surprised if you just like did it and tried, you know? Like I think a lot of people, even despite whether there's like a knowledge gap there, Mono, I think a lot of people straight up don't want to do the work. And that might sound like really mean, but that's like the part that has gotten me the most frustrated about when these conversations come up over and over and over again, is it's like, damn, how much are we gonna sit here, like the photo I sent you guys earlier of the 3 guys talking about if Fortnite is overrated, literal children doing that, and like kind of circle the drain on this thing forever until we actually just try something different and like maybe see if it works. You know, all these other companies are willing to try a Melee tournament and throw thousands of dollars at it. Why the fuck can't we send an email to like Raid Shadow Legends or whoever? Not them, they suck actually. I'll just say that. But like, yeah, of course. But like, I'm saying like it just frustrates me. That's all I'm getting at.
I think a lot of players.
Yeah, I mean, I think.
Sorry, go for it.
I was just say I think it's one of those things, like, you ever heard the saying, people are like, the American dream's dead? Like, I feel like the Melee dream, the thing is just like, it was a lie, right? Like, people that started post-doc were, you know, promised the story of like, they can get really good, they can become the Mangos, the whoever's, right? And like, that is the goal, right? Like, you will be really good at the game and you will get sponsored and you'll make money. And the truth is, like, being good at the game actually does not matter, right? In that perspective, right? Like, you know, whoever, you know, you believe is the best Melee player in the world right now, they're actually not the most valuable Melee player in the world from a sponsorship perspective, right? I think we could probably all agree on that, right?
100%.
And so it's one of those things where it's just like, yeah, that's not actually the goal, right? Like, that was the myth back in like 2015, 16 when this was happening, and it's just not true, right? And I think that's really the thing. It's like, yes, it is partly laziness and people not trying, but I think it's also, they were just, you know, they went down this rainbow, and when they got to the pot of gold, it turned out to be a copper, right?
But also,
yeah, exactly, right.
Esports was different back then. Like, you could, like, back in like 2015, 2014, 2016, like, if you were top 10, you got ranked, or you were on a team. Like, sponsors would reach out to you, and you would probably be signed. Whereas the last several years, we've had multiple top 10 players, and a majority of our top 30, 50, 100 aren't even signed by like local orgs or anything like that. And I think that when you're talking about like selling the lie, it's like, I mean, it was like just an extent true. Like, our top players, I remember like it was Curse, Hungrybox, and then it became Liquid, and then Alliance signed the Brothers, and then we had, you know, we had so many different like teams signing different players throughout the years. And then at like, how do I word this? People look for content now. Like, that is the pivot, because that is what a strong brand consists of. The strong brand is not, are you the best player in the world? The strong brand is, do you produce content? Do you produce videos? Do you produce reacting? Like, I would be more like Bobby Big Balls, like the Mr. Chicken Man himself, is much more of a sponsorable player than say like Crudo or Aura, even though they are 25 to 30 spots above him on the top 100, because he has a brand and he has a stream personality and clips and a name that you can look up. And like, I know for a fact, like, I'm not putting any top 10 player on blast or anything, but people are looking for sponsors and they're not piling up, because being a top player right now does not get you signed. Like, being good at Melee is not, it's not good enough to get you signed. It's just true.
I think, yeah, you're right about that, but like, I will just straight up name Cody here and be like, Look, I don't know your financial situation, man, but like, I know for a fact you've had conversations, and we played on the same team together. Like, we were both on Panda together. We both worked for same orgs together. I know you can get a sponsor. Like, I know for a fact. I don't know.
It may not be a sponsor at the scale that he.
Sure, I get it. Yeah, and like, it circles back to the like, you know, whatever your living situation is. I'm not here to comment on that. And I'm not here to, like, you know, try to put my own opinions on that sort of thing, but
well, why are you confident he can get a sponsor, right? And like, this is not turning into a Cody Blast segment or anything like
because
that.
Because he's had conversations with literal sponsors and said no. Like, as far as I know.
I get that. I get that, right? And I also understand that to be true, right? But I think my point is just like, yeah, Cody's the best player at the game, right? Like, Cody, you know, one of the top two, right? I think that's, you know, obviously fair. I would agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, Larry, there's a litany of reasons why he could have said no. Like, maybe the offer wasn't good, maybe it wasn't up to his standards. You know, maybe he didn't want to be represented by that team in the first place, right? Like, again, I'm not here to comment on that, and I don't want to like, you know, make him feel upset or anything about that sort of thing. But I don't think. This is my spiciest take out of all of this, and I've said it to all of you before. To me, like, I talked about this in like the Melee Stats Discord even too, but I'm like, to me, it is kind of like low-key embarrassing that I am a top 5 earner in like whether you consider Melee esports or not, the Melee esports world. I think that's crazy to me. There's no universe where I should be making more money and like having more stable a career in Melee, and maybe other games now because I'm not really doing only Melee on my channel anymore. But you get what I mean. Than the players that I built this channel around, right? Like the culture that I built this channel around. That is crazy to me, and I think that's like low-key unacceptable, right? Like I should not be doing financially better than some of these players.
But also,
I mean,
you're
the truth is
producing
not
significantly
close,
more content
right?
than all of them. Like the ecosystem right now for making
Sure.
money in esports and in Melee is not around winning tournaments and having the brand be, oh, I am top X in the world at Melee, please give me money. It's like you have to be that and also be producing content. And you have editors on the channel. You have like this. I think empire is a very strong word, but like you have like a
He
system
also
that you've
didn't
built
start with that.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course, but you
yeah,
work
yeah.
to get like you work to make it there. Whereas a lot of these players, they don't think about that. They just want to be the best player in the world. And I think that
For
if
sure.
you're trying to establish yourself in like, here's something like I'm speaking as someone who I used to make content. I'm top 50 right now for the next 3 days until I get demoted at end of full year rankings. But like I'm not saying that every single top player has to be putting out content right now 24/7, or else they're like a failure of a top player, or like they're not doing the game justice. Like some people have other life priorities. Like Laud's a doctor, like Sunsei is a full-time job. Like I'm not expecting them to make full-time content or anything like that. But if you want to be a full-time Melee player and live that dream, you need to provide a service to make money, because being a top player isn't enough in 2026.
Guys, my girlfriend in the room next door is engaging with the chat, so we have to answer her. How can they play and also content create? That's a full-time job. Does anyone want to take a stab at that
I mean,
one?
I think that there's a couple answers here. One, I don't think that playing, because Melee's meta doesn't change, and because the skill disparity between the top and the close to top is so high, I don't think that upkeep is actually a full-time job, to be honest. Maybe to be literally Zane or Cody, but also we could argue that because just being a top player is untenable, maybe there is more value in being 15th in the world and being a full-time content creator than being 5th in the world and not having good online presence. You also, in the years previous where there were larger sponsorships and contracts, you could allocate some of that money or some of the money from streaming to pay somebody to edit the videos or to write the videos. And maybe in the short term it's a loss leader, but long term those things eventually pay for themselves, as I'm sure that you could attest to, Walt.
Yeah, I mean, it's an investment, right? Like,
Yeah.
I lost a ton of money, or like went negative. And like, it trickles down the same way that, or a similar way to tournament organizers losing dollars on the order of thousands for me, where I'm like, damn, I paid that editor $500 for this. Like, and it's no dig to any of the editors, right? Like, it's just, okay, the performance just isn't there. So for me to pay an editor market rate, or close to market rate, because it's coming out of my own pocket often, most of the time, and then have that video get 10,000 views in 2026 means I'm barely making, again, I had said it earlier for the start of the stream, so like for context, 100k views on average is like, it's a pretty wide range, but it's maybe like 400 to $1,000 depending on your CPM. In gaming, it's probably closer to like 500, $600. But like, bring that down to 10k views now. Okay, I made what, $60, $80, and I spent hours of time. It's sunk cost fallacy at the end of the day. Like we did all this, and then it gets deflating to continue to do that.
But also,
Sure, but for someone who's, I think what in the discussion of we're trying to make, say, a top player wants to build out a brand that makes them seem makes them more sponsorable, and makes them more appealing to teams. You don't have to look at the numbers as the full-time content creator, because your goal is not to make enough money off of your own content solely to sustain being a top player. It is to make videos that are appealing enough and get enough views to build up enough of a brand to either increase your stream views, where you get subs, which gets you money, or gets you a sponsor because you have enough of a brand that makes that seem like they can make a profit off of you being on their team.
Yeah, I think we're kind of circling back to what we said earlier of like the ecosystem just doesn't support that though, right? Like It is a
sure,
lot easier
right.
for a Zane or someone to just be like, I'm gonna play Melee for 10 hours and like be the best player in the world, knowing that he may have like an agent who handles his brand sponsorships. Like I have an agent who handles my brand conversations, right, with some of my sponsors that I work with. It is a lot easier to justify that time expense for a top player to put in the full-time hours to be the best player in the world if they have the system and the staffing in place to be able to support that type of time, right?
So to pivot slightly,
Yeah.
and we can get back if this is too off track
Yeah,
for you guys, but I feel like these conversations inevitably degenerate into why aren't the top players making content for the game? Like is
Sure.
that like why aren't
Yeah.
they doing
I mean,
more? And like
I think that's
I appreciate
fair,
that
right?
part of it is in the interest of brainstorming how these players could be sustainable, but I think that most of them appreciate that to some degree. I think the bigger question is are we reliant on the efforts of of these top players to bootstrap themselves up into these sustainable positions in order for this community to be sustainable, or are there steps that can be taken either in like as a whole community or as individuals that make this more sustainable for the game and large, you know,
I
as
think it's
opposed to just
both.
like ragging on these players for being broke.
I
I
mean,
think
you
a
just
lot of
talked
it
to
is
Yeah, I
Zane
mean,
yesterday, right? Like, and Zane straight up said in your call with him, or 2 days ago, whatever. The video you posted today or yesterday. He said in the call, he was like, specific to content, he was like, it's literally me, like at least doing it
Yeah.
at this volume, right? Like Awesome Sauce barely posts. GR Smash is not really around anymore. Like the big people who surpassed me in terms of raw subscriber count are not around anymore, or are not around as frequently as I am anymore. So like I think it's both, in that like it certainly wouldn't hurt to have more people doing this stuff. It's not like we're all competitors with each other. I think it's more like the rising tide lifts all boats, this sort of deal.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think kind of the last thing I want to say on this before I have to bounce is just like, yeah, it is about productizing, right? Is the truth. Like being good enough at the game, like I said, isn't good enough anymore. But being good at the game is a jumping off point, right? Like if you're really good at Melee, if you're top 10, top, whatever, right? Like that does give you at least slightly more reach to maybe start to build traction, right? So it's really hard to say why haven't players kind of taken that next step. Like I know we talked about the Aklo video earlier. Like he posted a 170,000 view video and then just disappeared off the face of the earth. Never posted another one, right? And it's hard to really understand why, right? It's hard to understand why he did that and like why other people don't try and do that. But the truth is like that's just necessary, right? Like being good at the game is not what matters. I would probably say, Hungrybox's most successful time as a Smash Melee content person was probably when he was performing, in recent history, the worst, right? Like that 22-23 timeline when he really kind of reinvented himself. And, I always talk about in 2024, like the most viewed Melee thing in the world was Hungrybox playing one unranked game of Melee versus PP, right? On Slippy, right? Like it has more views than basically every Melee VOD of the year combined, right? So the truth is just like, I think content, but even Melee in general is not immune to it's become so much more like personalized and like brand based, and like it's just not about the gameplay anymore, right? It's about people watching who they want to watch and the entertainment factor, and I think that's really, really significant. It's just crucial for players to hop on that train in the future, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, but also like credit to, we can acknowledge that like, Zane is posting content pretty actively now and is also the best player. Like it certainly is something that the players can balance.
Sure, but if Zane was an O2er, right, he obviously wouldn't have the same reach that he does now, right? Like Zane has
I don't know, Wall
success,
Tweet's pretty good.
in my opinion.
Yeah, and I'm not an
Yeah, I guess
O2er
that's
for
true.
what
Walt-
it's
Walt
worth.
was
So
PR, man.
fuck all you
Walt was
guys,
PR,
man.
all right.
Also,
let's
like,
not
is it-
let's not
My
start.
point is,
Within Melee,
it's like, I
is
think
one of the
Zane's
fastest growing
successfully done
brands
it.
not Hod
Right.
TV, who is a 1 and 2 or 2 and 2.
but nobody knows who. I was literally going to talk about.
I
Hod,
don't
'cause,
I
like,
don't know
Hod
him,
has-
but I've
I'm
heard
sorry.
of him.
I'm sorry
so
if Hod's. I'm sorry if Hod's watching this, right? But like, Hod has no chance of like full-time streamer, like I'm going to, you know, make it in the industry thing, right? Because yeah, I mean he could do it, right? But it's obviously significantly harder because he doesn't have the people watching him for his skill, right? Like even when Zane was playing Melee just 10 to 12 hours a day versus, you know, Cody, Jerome, Schwab, it's like people still watched it, right? Hundreds of people still watched it, right? That helps for
That's
sure.
not his middle
It definitely
name.
helps.
Fuck off.
That is
That's
his middle
awesome.
name. His
Is that
middle name's
really?
Jerome. Yeah,
I
it
didn't
is,
know
yeah.
that. That's crazy. He used to live like a town over from me. I should have known that.
Yeah,
Damn.
but I mean that's my point, right? This is true, I think, in every esports, right? Like I'm a big Dota fan, right? It's like a decade ago, people just watched RTZ and, you know, all the good players, right? And like now people only really watch the entertaining players, right? They watch like Goric or Admiral Bulldog or these people who are like washed or like not the best players at the game, right? But they're good enough, but they're entertaining, right? And that's what matters for sure.
I think there's a really good comment here, unless anyone else wants to say something first. Okay, I'm gonna
Go
read
for
it.
it, man.
No, go for it.
Absent-minded GCN in YouTube says, esports money doesn't matter. I think it's more so the segmentation of the scene. Every player has their own sub-community, and the elitism causes no crossover. I think that's a pretty solid comment, personally. I think, like, going back to what I was saying before I called you guys, one of the biggest problems and the reason why this continuously comes up time and time again is because there is kind of like a disconnect of what people actually want out of this thing. And there's no like necessarily right or wrong answer to this, but I think that separation is causing a lot of tension. So there are the group of people that are like, Melee is forever, one unit, we're fucking grassroots till we die, baby. And then there are people who like want, maybe there's someone like more centrist in that who are like, I would love if my friends got jobs from this thing. And then maybe there are people on the more extreme side that are like, I know most of you probably watched the Awesome Sauce video, like the Icons devs that are like, we're making the game for esports and this is gonna revolutionize the esports world. But I think the difference in those opinions is ultimately what causes these kind of like conflicts, like infighting between community members, because they're like, and again, I'm speaking kind of anecdotally because it's happened to me in some ways where people are like, oh, well, I know for a fact Walt has wanted to be a full esport, wanted to make Melee full esports. First off, what does that mean? Second, I don't really understand, like, where the like the disparagement or like parentheses derogatory comes in for something like that, because it's like some people might want that and I don't necessarily align with that sort of thing, but like I think it's just this idea that it's like, if it's not the way that I want it to be, then it's not good, and it's not the way that we should all do it. But then multiply that by 100 different people having 100 different opinions, right? And like we're talking about the crux of problems in communities, right? At a certain level.
I mean, yeah, because ultimately the community is all of these different things, and all of these other interests in the community are valid and have coexisted so far into the game. But I think that the issues arise when people think that the game ought to be or can only be one of these ways.
Yeah,
and when there are
the
these
vision of what you
different...
want it to be, right? And
Yeah,
there's no other way to see it.
There's the like part of one of the comments that Absent-Minded made, which also shout outs. Like, I was gonna shout out another Ice climbers, or I guess former Ices who's retired and all. But where is it? It's about the segmentation of how every top player has their own insulated community that has no interaction with another. And I think to some degree that is true, in that a lot of the older players, like Mewtwo King, has his fans, you know, Mango has his fans, you know, like the PPMD has the people who sub to him and get coaching from him, and none of those people interact at all. Yeah. But a lot of the newer age players who are streaming, they will watch each other. Like, they're like, people who are watching Zane stream will also watch Cody stream and also watch Moki stream. Like, there are very few like diehard, I am only going to watch Josh Man play Melee and no one else when they stream. And I think it's because there's just so many more people from the Doc era of Melee who grew, like literally grew up watching these players play the game and having these massive personalities that, you know, this narrative of fight, and I'm not just going to like the, you know, narratives are dead segment, but like the narratives then were so grandiose and mythological in how they made these people into deities and made being a top player seem really cool. And I feel like that, like, granted, a lot of us grew up, but a lot of that magic is gone. And that, you know, we were wearing rose-tinted glasses from what we saw in the past. Like, people don't recall this, but like, you know, the documentary had a huge boom. The Evo 2013 donation drive gave us so much positive visibility. Tournaments were on the front page of Twitch because we had so many people on the inside of Twitch, and that would jack up viewership like crazy and get a lot of people's eyes on the scene, and none of that's there anymore. And because it isn't there, we don't have a, like, the closest thing we've had is Ludwig, and his growth and his boom, but we don't have a very large, like, funnel of getting new people into the game right now. And I think that is the biggest reason why we are having so much of a the biggest reason that there's so much disparity between like what Melee was in 2015, or I guess 2016, and what Melee is right now in 2026. Like everything from viewership to entrance to why people revere old school commentators, players, storylines, etc. It's all because there were just so many more people then.
Dude, I remember after SmashCon 2022. And this, like, the viewership was declining at this point too. I don't want to like completely rehash some of the stuff we've already talked about. I remember Justin, Supernova Justin, came up to me after, and he was like, "Dude, we cracked 100K concurrence on the stream for 2022, which is wild to me, right? Like that is an absurd number of people watching a live event." I totally agree with everything you're saying, Justin, Dark Gen X, Justin. And I think like the news flash to all of this is that the fact that we're even talking about this in the first place is like, hey, guess what? I think we all like sports more than we're leading on, right? Like if we are that invested in the people and the you know main drivers of this community and this game that have existed for as long as it has, we like sports, right? Because that's what sports are, like in its whole. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that maybe it's a question of looking to the analogous, games or sports or entertainment and trying to pull from those as examples of things that the Melee community can model itself off of, right? Like, I know that you guys know that I bring up pro wrestling a lot in the context of Melee, right? And looking at what are the drivers in that space that keep people invested in that as entertainment versus like, yeah, I'm sure we could look at, you know, the UFC or like one-on-one sports too. And I think that it's mostly just a matter of in order to, like Justin said, pull in new people and make this as engaging and as accessible to new people as possible. It's about, you know, integrating whatever new things into the community as we can and using that to champion the game that we care about, because it does really feel like the game and like the people making stuff, or a lot of the existing community is really stuck in 2016 in terms of.
There was a really
like,
good comment from Bones, by the way, who said, I think kind of summarizes a lot of this, that basically said something to the tune, I can't find it now, but he said, I think people struggle to understand that like things can grow simultaneously in multiple directions, right? And I think that's probably a major source of the disconnect right now, and we're talking about, I think, most of the very, very vocal people. Maybe this is pertaining to the people who are always on the DDT, on Reddit, or whatever it may be. I myself, and like very by design, have not been super vocal about this stuff because I was in the past, and it was not good on my mental. But I'm thankful that the people who are watching right now are not absolute internet troll freaks who are coming in here to just like say crazy as fuck shit, and are actually like willing to have good conversation and dialogue about this, because even like as it pertains to me, like I would not be here if it was not for, to your point, Ohan, like the community that I have built, and regardless of the fact that it was like kind of the first nail was put in from this game, I remember I was talking about a sponsor that I had to back out of recently in like the last couple of months. And someone left a comment, and it was like pretty fair for the most part, but they were just like, why do you care? Collect your bag, whatever. Like this has like melee players are already struggling XYZ. And I remember I said something like, oh, this doesn't really have anything to do with melee players. It has to do with my community. Like it's not really and I think like that there are good sides to that, having that separation, and there are not so good sides of having that separation. And that's part of the reason why we're having this discussion too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know.
Chat right now.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's just hard because right now, like what is the takeaway? I mean, like everybody's talking about melee dying, and whether it is, and I think the questions have to be. I mean, I think that we can say that like pretty conclusively that it's in decline.
It's been declining. Yeah, I mean, like if you
for a
look
long
at
time.
the answer, if you're looking at straight numbers, is like it has been declining. But that, I think that ultimately plays into the original comment on that Reddit thread that I was talking about at the start of the stream, where it's like, are the numbers declining? Is that, a recession indicator? No, I don't really think so. I think it's like we're just getting older, right? Like that's the reality of it, is that we are getting older. A lot of us are growing out of this thing that may no longer appeal to us as a hobby, and because there is no avenue for most, if not all, players to pursue a career in this sort of thing that they can see themselves doing long term, then yeah, like that is also a contributing factor to the numbers going down. I don't necessarily think, like, to kind of answer the question that's presented in this stream title, I don't think numbers going down are necessarily an indicator that a game is quote unquote dying. I think that whole like, oh, our game's cooked is such a like reactionary knee-jerk thing that a lot of games do too. Like Marvel Rivals, for instance, I'm playing that game nonstop, right? And I'm fucking good at it for what it's worth. So that's something I don't have in Melee. But I remember I was in a voice chat with like, I was just on a random ranked lobby, and like other team was losing or whatever, and one of the players just goes, or our team was losing, and one of the players just goes, you know what, whatever, this game only has 100,000 concurrent players, it's dead. That's fucking insane, right? But like, granted, you're playing 6-on-6, so like it's 12 players instead of 2 to 4 that we get from Smash. But like, what a crazy statement to me to be like, oh, we only have 80,000 concurrent players, game's dying, right? Like, I think it's such a it's not prescriptive in any way. Like, it's always reactionary to be like, well, damn, the number went down, we're dead, pack it up, rip bozo, fucking whatever, right? But like, I don't necessarily think that those two things are like positively correlated with each other, right? Like a number being in decline doesn't necessarily mean that its player base isn't as fervent as ever.
No,
Yeah,
I agree.
With what that literally happened to me in Arc Raiders, where I killed a squad, and they literally were saying, the game's dead anyway, who cares? And it's like, there's like 300k people playing it right now. But in comparison to where it was at launch, when there was like 800k people, sure, that's a pretty steep drop off, but there's a lot of people still playing it. I think that with like the conversations of is Melee actually dying, and sort of retreading a couple of things that you were saying here, but it's like Melee is not the same as it was in 2015, 2016 in Doc era. Melee will most likely never be the same as it was back then either, as a result of the esports bubble having burst to some degree, as in by some degree a lot. People growing up, people getting older, people losing interest. But like, I talked a little bit before about the difference between the scene that is going to their locals consistently and engaging with the local community, and the people who are watching the game in top 8s and seeing those numbers go down and seeing a lot of their familiar faces go away, and all the doom and gloom with that. And it's like, S2J, Shroomed, and SFAT, they all work at NVIDIA, they all work in the same office, and they all play a bunch of Melee together on their lunch breaks and just chill together and play. None of them are really using social media very much right now. None of them are entering locals very often, none of them have been active in the last 2+ years as top players, but they just love fucking around and playing the game. And that those friendships that they've built and lasted for like 15+ years are going to last forever. They're going to keep playing Melee until they're old men in a retirement home. And that sense of Melee, of you are growing and learning and playing this game with your friends, that is never going to die, even if major numbers and attendance numbers go down. And I think in that sense, Melee is not dying.
100% agree. Let's go. Let's go, Justin. Fucking W, Justin, bro. Let's get it. Do you guys know the, I know you have to go to bed, Justin. Do you know the lore about the NVIDIA boys?
I do not.
By the way, I don't know if they still do this, but so I was Zach's editor for a couple years, and I still hang out with them whenever I see them. I saw them all at Oktoberfest, actually, in Germany, which was hilarious, because I didn't know, like, Dewan and Johnny were going to be there. But I was hanging out with Zach, and apparently they do a, I don't know, like, what the length of time is, but they each put in, like, some amount of money. It's, like, a decent amount, maybe, like, $500 each. And they do a round robin for, like, a quarter, like a fiscal quarter or something like that, let's say, call the time period. And it's basically whoever has the best record at the end of that, like, time period between the three of them wins the entire pot or something like that. It's crazy. I know that they've done it, like, at least a couple times. I just think that's so funny.
It's fun.
It sounds awesome. It sounds like a great time.
But yeah, I think, like, ultimately, pretty much exactly what Justin said, right? Like, if I were to make this a video essay and close out with a line, it's like, yeah, okay, Melee might be dead, but, like, the relationships and the experiences and the memories, like, that stuff's never going to get taken away from the people who were touched by this game. And I think that's really, really important. Also, it's not fucking dead. Like, it's fine. So it's just, are there problems with the scene? Are there problems with the community? Maybe. Like, do you get in arguments with your family every time you go sit at the dinner table for Thanksgiving or whatever? Yeah, like, you're gonna have different opinions and things are gonna come up and things are gonna get heated, and that's just kind of like what being a family is all about, right? But I do think ultimately being able to talk about this stuff and not go, like, super internet troglodyte over it is what really matters. So, like, thank you to both of you guys for being willing to pop on. Justin, I know you got an early morning tomorrow, so I'm not going to keep you any longer.
I was having a lot of fun. Sorry for getting carried away.
No, I'm glad you stayed. I just didn't want you to feel like you were obligated to keep talking here. And then, of course, Mono, thank you to you as well. I know Ohan already had to dip, so I appreciate you all popping
anytime.
in. I would love to do more of these talks soon. And I think we had a mostly productive conversation, and we'll come back to it soon when, you know, the conversation on Twitter or Reddit or otherwise turns back to Melee is dying in probably a week from now. So thank you guys both for joining. I appreciate it.
Anytime. Thanks for having us on.
This conclusion sucks. Shut the fuck up, bro. Flatfish. Mods, ban this guy. I'm done. I don't know.
Do you have YouTube mods?
I do have a couple, but they're all just, like, my old friends that I made as mods, like, years ago.
Well, wake those fuckers up and ban this dude, man.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. The conclusion does suck, because you want to know why? Why did I even stream for 2 hours? I'm tired now. I didn't want you to. I was joking. I didn't want you to actually delete that. I'm reviving it. How do I revive it? I didn't mean it. Whatever. All right, I'm gonna leave the call for now, and I'm gonna sign off, or at least just kind of chat with the rest of the people who are hanging out.
Yeah,
here for
do
now.
it.
Sounds good.
Have a
great night.
Thanks,
Peace.
guys. Let's talk again soon.
Peace.
All right, that's it, guys. You have learned actually nothing from this. I don't know. Things are fine for the most part. I think there are a lot of fundamental problems with the way that we talk to each other and the way that we work on these things together. But at the end of the day, this is all a collaboration, right? Like, we created this community together. I think we are very much better off for it. I'm sure most of the people who are watching this, thank you to all of you. I don't know why 200 people are watching me right now. That's kind of stupid, because I don't have good opinions. But like I think most of you who are here and most of you who probably watch my videos probably have been impacted by this game in some way, and that is a result of all of us kind of like working together as a community. So you guys are all a community, we're all a community. We can make this thing not die. It doesn't have to die. Just be able to, you know, work on the things that make you happy, do the things that make you happy, whatever. Oh, I didn't know Sozin was in the chat. What's up, bro? Much love to Hacks. Yeah, I mean, much love to Hacks, man. Rest in peace to him, of course. It's a shame. It really is. So, listen, I'll say it again before I sign off. I think I can't express my appreciation to all of you guys enough. It is, you know, I kind of alluded to it earlier in the stream, but like people are really brutal online. Like they say things and they are shrouded by the anonymity of the internet, and I think that's whack as fuck. But like they're hit a point, especially with the way that I participated and engaged with the Smash scene, that it really, really bothered me, to like a degree where I just did not want to even like, there were contemplations of like not doing this channel anymore too. So I just want to say thanks to all of you guys for being able to not be that way and be like normal people and actually like have good conversation and good dialogue, and you know, like make this feel like a worthwhile thing and make me feel valued as like someone in the community. So thank you to all of you, of course. That's as sappy as I'm gonna get. We're done. It's too late. It's like 1:30 in the morning. No, I'm not, Flatfish. I wasn't saying you were being brutal. I know you were. I thought you were making a joke, but whatever. I didn't want them to actually delete your comments, so thanks for that. But yeah, guys, let me know if you appreciated this sort of thing. I'm seeing a lot of much love in here, so hey, again, it's reciprocated for sure. If you want to see more of the streams, look, I made the shout out to Jake, who's going to be editing these over on Bonus Vault in the coming weeks. I think I'm probably releasing the Zane HBox analysis to that channel tomorrow. But yeah, if you want to see more of it, let me know. I'll probably just keep sharing like when I plan to do these on the community tab, because that's like my closest form of social media at this point. But yeah, that's it. Just want to say thanks so much for watching. We'll be back more because this conversation always comes up, and hope to see you guys there. Thanks so much. See you next time.